Today's devotional is taken from John chapter 18, verses 33 through 19, verse 6. The title is called Christ, the King of Kings. The scene takes place where Pilate is talking to Jesus and asking who he really is. That's a question we need to ask. Who is Jesus? Is he King of all kings? Jesus did say, "I am the Alpha and the Omega." Can we compare him just as we compare Moses? Is he a prophet just like Moses or Elijah? Well, in order to find these things out, we need to go through a couple of verses and, of course, go to the source, the Bible. Sajin and I today are going to go through a couple of different verses to find out who Jesus really is.
So let's start off by saying, let's find out who Christ is. Who is he? So I'm going to go over a few verses and read the verses over to you. In John chapter 1, verses 1 through 4, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was God. He was the God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In his life and through his life, light of all mankind came. And in the second verse I'm going to read is John chapter 1, 4 through 6. Jesus answered, "I am the way, I am the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." So unless you don't know Jesus or you don't know about Christ, you cannot get to God. And the third verse is John chapter 18, verses 37. This is a conversation between Pilate and Jesus at the time of his conviction. Pilate said, "You are king, right?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into this world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of the truth listens to me." So in the last three chapters that I read, we talk about who is God? Where does he stand between God? Now we're going to find out we need to see Christ for what he has done.
The next couple of verses will say what Christ has done for us. In John 1, verses 14, it says, "The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen the glory, and the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth." In Romans 5:8, it says, "But God demonstrated his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." And then again in Colossians, it says, For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile himself through all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood that he shed on the cross. As you can see, these couple of verses, it clearly tells us what Christ has done for us. He's died on the cross for us, and he shed his blood just for our sins.
In the last part, we're going to talk about who is Christ and when and who is to come. All the chapters I'm going to speak about is from Revelations. Revelations talks about the second coming of Christ and who Christ is. In Revelations chapter 17, verses 14, they will wage war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will triumph over them because he is the Lord, Lord of lords, King of kings, and with him will be called and the chosen ones of all faithful followers. In Revelations chapter 19, verses 7, "Let us rejoice and be glad and give him glory. For the wedding of the Lamb has come, and the bride has made herself ready." And lastly, in Revelations chapter 19, verses 9, "Then the angel said to me, Write this: Blessed are those who are invited to the wedding supper of the Lamb." And he added, "These are true words of God." Now it's your job to examine the truth. Either you believe it all or nothing.
The choice is yours.